Welcome back to Valley Boys TCG. I'm CK, and today we got a special mini podcast episode. We have one of our local competitors who crushed it in a recent regionals. Introduce you all to Adrian. Adrian, introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? Adrian here, aka Riplungs
Yeah, so
from
Adrian
Team Never
competed
Spark.
in two regionals, correct?
Yeah, I competed in Top Cuts Regional and Core TCG's Regional the following day.
And this was the end of BT11, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was the last regional tournaments for BT11.
Very nice, very nice. And tell us, how did it? I know how it goes, but let the audience know.
Yes, I placed 12th place in Top Cuts Regional, and I also placed 27th the following day on Core TCG's Regional.
That is awesome. And props to you, man. 2 days of back-to-back regionals, 2 long days is a lot. I was supposed to be in the top cut one the first day. I had a family get-together thing that was kind of unexpected, and I just had I jumped in for a little bit, kind of 3-0'd and dropped, or 3 round and dropped. But having gone, I think it was the BT9 format, maybe BT10 format, and competing in some of these regionals in the past, they are long, long days, and they are tiring. And the fact that you killed it the first day and came back again the next day and survived the whole tournament and still made it top 32. I mean, props to you, man. That takes a lot of stamina to get that far.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And to be honest, I really just have I guess it's about having that mentality when you're playing in these long tournaments. And I was just playing each round one by one, taking it one at a time. And I was just ready for my next opponent until the tournament was over. And it was a long weekend, like you said. It was about 19 to 20 hours of Digimon. I did get tired towards the end, but I mean, I had a good time overall.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And tell us, what did you pilot to make it both those days? And you piloted the same deck both days, I believe, right?
Yes, I piloted the same deck both days, which was Minerva-Toolbox, and it is a deck that I have been testing with since the beginning of the format. I tried to perfect this list for about 2 months, knowing I was going to participate in these regionals, and I really wanted to get my invite with this deck. So I just kept practicing and practicing, and I can honestly say that the hard work paid off, and I was able to perform very well with this deck.
Very nice. Now, if you could remember back to the tournament, what would you say was your quote unquote easiest matchup, and what was probably the one that the most difficult or the most thought process you had to go into it, the one that gave you the most headache, I would say?
So hands down, easiest matchup would be the Shopmon matchup, Cross. To me, it's just a matchup to where I'm not feeling a certain, okay, this deck can outperform my deck fast enough. I can be at the same level of tempo with this deck, but pieces in my deck are able to slow down my opponent. And then for my hardest or trickiest matchup, I would have to say it would be Machine Dramon. Now, Machine Dramon isn't necessarily a hard matchup, as in it's hard to win, but it's tricky. It's tricky because if they can set up their tamers to where they can block enough attacks and bring out a Machine Dramon, it can cause problems for me. I would say blue is purple's hardest matchup, but at least for the weekend, Machine Dramon was definitely a matchup where I had to put more thought compared to, for example, Cross, or even a bad matchup like Garurumon. But that matchup is just, they can OTK you compared to Machine Dramon, where it's more of a mid to end game type of deck.
Yeah, Machine Dramon is definitely mid to late game play. If they set up the funny thing is we say a wall and we think like old black blockers deck where you have a bunch of blockers. No, it's just a single stack that can just keep rerouting, keep blocking. And yeah, Machine Dramon is a very tough deck to get around if it gets set up. What would you say was probably the card that underperformed and overperformed in the deck?
So I would say this card right here, which would be Chimeramon. So Chimeramon is a very strong card in this deck because it enables us for an extra swing or potentially going into our level 6. But the main thing that Chimeramon came in clutch today was being able to pop the floodgates and, like I said, getting that extra hit. So surprisingly, this card won me more games than throughout my testing. It just came up way more in the regionals both days, and this card is just so strong in this deck. So definitely this card overperformed. And then for underperformed, I guess you would say a card that I could potentially take out, correct? Or a card that didn't really do anything?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a tough one, but if I had to pick, it's actually a card that I took out of this deck already, which would be Defx. So Defx is a super strong card, especially since we were playing in the BT11 format. Such a strong card against Cross, but I was already winning that matchup as it was. Against, for example, Machine Dramon or fast OTK decks, Defx never really came up. And in this format, BT12, I kind of feel it's the same thing, even though you can play it for free against decks like Hunters. Maybe if you're playing against Beelzemon, they swarm you. But overall, I just felt that card wasn't really what I needed overall in my deck.
Okay, I feel you. And since you just mentioned it already, you just mentioned you've already taken it out. So this deck is still alive and active for you in BT12, and you've updated it, correct?
Yes, 1000%. Definitely alive well, and it can still be a top contender.
So, what are the changes you've made for BT12? What have you updated and added from the new set, taken out from the old, and just refresh the deck?
Yeah, so I guess I'll just break it down real quick, and we'll just look at the changes that I made, and then from there we can pinpoint exactly the exact changes. So for the rookies, we have one Psychmon, two Gazimon, four on deletion Gabumon, and four Ignitemons. So for the rookie, the first thing to notice from my BT11 list now to BT12 is I cut down a rookie. I cut down a rookie, and that would be the second Psychmon. So why did I cut down that Psychmon? Well, for this format, I just feel like if I had to pick between Gazimon or Psychmon, I think Gazimon right now is a little bit better. Even though Hunters and Cross are still a thing, and they can Digicross and Psychmon is there to clutch, I just feel like Gazimon is more versatile, more usable against other decks in the format that are running memory boosts. So yeah, for the rookies, I cut down the Psychmon. We're at 11, and that is the change I made for the rookie lineup.
Very nice.
And for the level 4s, we're still running the Icemon package. It's a purple deck, so we have to. That doesn't change and shouldn't change.
Of course.
And then the only change we made to our level 4 lineup is we went down to 3 Dark Lizardmons. Why did we go down to 3 Dark Lizardmons instead of 4? Well, we added in or replaced with another Devimon 1-cost blocker. So the main reason is I believe for this deck to compete with all these decks this format, it has to be fast enough. And purple decks have always been, well, at least, Minerva or Toolbox loop type decks have never really had you get to point A to point B. It's usually you get to point A and whatever cards you get, hopefully you land there. So pretty much, I just feel like this deck needs to tempo, be fast enough, and that 1-cost Evo, getting into our level 5, can change the turnaround just because of that.
Okay, I get that.
And then for the level 5s, so we did make quite a few changes. So again, with the 5s, there's another change. Instead of 3-3, now we're going 4-4 with the Wolves. So why 4-4 with the Wolves? Well, pretty much going back to the 1-cost blocker, this deck is all about speed. I need to be able to get to my combo quick enough, so that means I want to consistently see these 2 cards in my hand just for a turn 2, turn 3, start drawing and discarding, getting to my pieces quick. I'd like the 3-3 split last format, but this format with Beelzemon and Hunters, these 2 cards can actually survive security. I have more, I guess, I feel more confident enough in those matchups to start swinging with these. So not only am I going fast enough, now I'm hitting your security faster than previously. So with the 4-4 lineup, I'm liking it, and it's super consistent.
I get that. Yeah, the a lot of Beelzemon is running around, and that usually means a lot of Impmons, so the security's a little easier to survive, I would say. And then the hunters, you just half the time you're hitting tamers. So yeah, I can see that the regular Cerberus is definitely regular Cerberus is going to survive a lot more swings, and allows you to basically double attack regular Cerberus then do the werewolf play.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be able to evo fast and then get those checks in quick. So definitely like the consistency with that. And then our last level 5, we talked about it earlier, Chimeramon. So the second change, other than adding the 2 wolves, well, that means I cut the Lucamon package. I cut Lucamon and I cut Dead or Alive. With those cards, I felt like Lucamon doesn't have too much value. We are already running cards that can destroy threats, so Lucamon just didn't feel needed anymore. I would rather see the wolf, the either of the wolves in my hand early, so I can start doing my plays. But we kept Chimeramon because this card is just so strong. If you can get it off on a sneaky play, or even bringing out your Mervamon, your level 4 surviving, and bringing out this card for an extra swing. Such a strong card.
Very nice,
So
very
for
nice. And I, 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 I see what your point on the Lucamon, because a lot of people love the Lucamon to be able to pop tamers, but I feel like there's too many tamers now that by the time he hits and deletes something, it's not making enough of an impact because there are already 5 tamers on the board. Then half of them do what they want to do, so popping one of them doesn't make a difference at this point anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like if you wanted to make Lucamon work, you would have to base the whole deck around that. So maybe like running a Minerva Lucamon deck, but having it at one just didn't feel good anymore.
Right.
So with the level 6s, our level 6s also had a change. We're still running the 3-3 Minerva Mervamon combo. You can always try and go 4-4. I just personally like 3, so that stayed the same.
Nice.
And then the changes we made for the level 6, well, we used to run only one Nidhogg. Now we're running 3 Nidhoggs. So, if you notice, with how I'm trying to play the deck and the certain choices I've already made, you can see what I mean by I'm trying to get there fast. I'm trying to be able to go into a level 5, destroy my wolf to bring out Cerberusmon werewolf mode. And if I discard Nidhoggs, I could potentially go back up to 3 memory and then go into Minervamon. And then from there, destroy Minervamon and bring out Mervamon. So if your opponent gives you 3 memory going first, let's say for example Hunters, they just play a Tamer or play a Body, you Evo for 1 with the Devimon, go into your Werewolf, pass them at 1. It's back to you. If you're at 1 or 2, having these 3 copies in your deck, you can potentially pull off that Minervamon Merva combo. So with this format, how these decks are pretty fast, I wanted to see how I could add more speed, and I felt like memory gain was the way. This card is also strong for your Ice Mons, since Ice Mon is going to live a lot more in this format. If they do decide to destroy it, you could potentially pass turn with these Nidhogg Mons. I love it at 3 right now. It's super strong. I guess I could cut it down to 2 if I wanted to add another card, but right now I'm liking this new playstyle of the deck that I'm trying to accomplish.
I like that. I like the Nidhogg. Nidhogg was a favorite of mine when I used to run the Titamon deck. He's just such a strong trash and get something going with. And yeah, the memory gain is definitely a way to help boost you. I mean, to help boost the plays and kind of extend your plays, I should say. The Nidhogg's a great way to kind of extend your plays, give yourself a little more time and ability to combo better within your turn without having to pass too much over. So definitely a nice choice there. And I totally get it with both Cerberus and Eismons being able to trash them. You have so much trashing effect that helps you gain the memory back as long as your opponent's not running those memory blockers. But I feel like there's not as much recently.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually something I wanted to talk about too. I'm glad that you mentioned it because I forgot. I feel like this format, other than I would say purple, maybe like Examon, who's running some Adokis, no one's really running any floodgates as far as memory blocking. So upping the 4/4 wolf count and then having these three Nidhogg's, I'm able to pull those cards off more, and that's why I decided to up the count on those cards.
Very nice.
So we cut the Defex. That gave us space to add that other Nidhogg, so we do not have any level 7 in this deck. But if you wanted to, you could cut one and then put in that Defex, just depending on your local scene or if you want to run it for a tournament. So with the options, we still have the same self-destruct package. We have one Calling from Darkness, one Deathclaw, and two Pandemonium Flames. I was testing two Nidhoggs, and the third one is a flex spot. So I was going in between three Pandemonium Flames, just because there's decks in this format that are attacking more, going wide on like you're on the board, and can kill you quick. But I went back to two. Felt a little bit cloggy, but depending on your local scene, just in case maybe your opponents are using Imperial Dramon or aggro decks like that, you can put in another flame. But I like the four options that we have to self-destruct just in case.
Very nice.
And then for Jack Raid, that stayed the same. Should always stay the same. And to round it off, we're still playing the three analog use.
Very nice. So you don't play any memory tamer. Analog Youth is the only tamer you rely on, correct?
Yes. So the reason why I personally never liked running a memory tamer and these type of decks is because it feels like giving 4 memory is too much. Now there's decks in this format that pretty much do the same. They give you 3-4 memory back, but I feel like on that turn with that memory, I'd rather just evo up into a level 5 just to get my Minerva-Mon quick and pull off the play to get Minerva-Mon and swing. I just feel like with that memory, I just need to evo up quick. And since we're running the three Nidhoggs and the 4 Jack Raids, we pretty much gain our memory through other means.
Very true. You got a lot of ways to gain the memory. So I guess memory tamer is not necessarily necessary in this deck, and I think the analog plays a point in that to help keep it going. So very nice list. Like in the updates, nothing too big from the new set that's really changing anything in there. You haven't thought about taking in like a Jet Merva or anything like that, right?
No, when I first read the card, I thought it was going to be a good pick to put in the deck, but then I realized it's actually pretty bad, at least for my deck, for this type of playstyle. But if you were going ahead and using just a champion rush Merva deck, then I can definitely see, putting in some Jet Mervamons. Or if you want to put it in cross, Mervamon type build, I see that card being pretty good in there. But BT12 didn't really have any new cards to offer this Toolbox Minerva-Mon deck, which is pretty unfortunate. So the best thing that I could do or think was just being able to upgrade the deck in terms of speed, whether that be through memory or the Digivolution cost, but pretty much just wanted to be a little bit more faster compared to the last format.
Okay, I feel you there. So, so the deck obviously got some updates, but nothing updated particularly for BT12, but still good stuff. It's still very capable of competing here in BT12. And since we're talking about BT12, BT12 did bring us a lot of decks. So, brother, what do you feel is the big thing of BT12? What are your thoughts on this new BT12 format?
So I think this new format is actually more fun than last format, since I feel like Grandis and Metal Garuru have kind of slowly fallen off. But so that being said, OTK decks aren't always good for the meta, right? But these new decks, for example, Hunters and Beelzemon, they're still pretty quick, but the playstyle is different. I feel like you have a better chance at beating these decks more than you did with, OTK decks in the previous format. So I really like, these new decks, especially I guess you could say they're purple decks. Purple deck have never been, tier 1. So it took 12 formats to finally have a tier one purple deck. So that's also a pretty cool thing for this format.
Yeah, I agree. Like this is definitely a purple format. You know, you can argue that Hunters isn't a purple deck, but it's totally there's a heavy amount of purple in Hunters. I view Hunters as a quasi purple deck, and then obviously Beelzemon is the big bad. I was a big fan of Beelzemon early on. It was my rogue deck, and it's a deck that while it was still rogue took me the furthest in a regional. But I will say I have this weird tendency where I don't like to play meta. So now that Beelzemon is like arguably one of the best decks, if not the best deck, I haven't really played it. I've played it once or twice with the new stuff, but haven't played it at locals. Just kind of have it shelved there. Maybe I'll bring it back out, but I like playing all the other random stuff. So, but I can't, you can't deny Beelzemon is definitely tearing up a lot of things. It's gonna be doing damage for a lot of for a good while. It's probably one that's gonna end up getting some sort of hit on the future ban list, I'm sure. But what are your thoughts
Yeah,
on Beelzemon and
yeah, that's that's funny that you mentioned that because I also had that feeling with Minerva-Mon. I've always been a anti-meta player. I would say I never played meta. So now with Beelzemon becoming tier one and it's a purple deck, at first I didn't really want to use it, but to help my friends practice, for the upcoming regionals, I wanted to build these meta decks, and I've actually been using Beelzemon, and it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun deck, super broken. Definitely, I could see a card on that deck getting hit. I think we all know what card. And, but even though it's a broken deck, it's kind of the same thing. Let's say for example, Grandis, and I bring up these decks a lot because I really I hate these decks just because they're really pretty much I'm gonna sit in raising, wait for my pieces, come out and kill you. So Beelzemon kind of has that same. Well, every deck has that same idea, but with Beelzemon, you can get more weirder hands compared to let's say Grandis getting a weird hand. You know what I mean? Beelzemon can get these hands to where they can't really advance their board state. They don't hit the right mills or they draw the wrong cards. So that's kind of going back to what I said earlier on you have a better chance of beating these decks compared to the last format. Kind of the same thing with Hunters, but Hunters is more consistent. But a lot of these a lot of these decks now previously in BT11 can compete with these tier one decks more, especially with mulligans being a thing. But I definitely think Beelzemon is a deck that it's not unbeatable, but it's definitely going to be a problem if a lot more people pick it up. But I don't think I haven't seen a lot of people use it in these tournaments compared to let's say Blue Hybrid or Black War Greymon. I don't know if you kind of see that too as well.
The blue hybrid coming back was a very interesting thing for me. Black War Greymon, I think, is still pretty viable. I think we're going to see it in this next regional. I think there's probably going to be an abundance of Beelzemon, just because that X antibody is just so dirty. But yeah, and bringing up blue hybrid made me, you bringing up Melga. So when you mentioned you don't really need, or we don't really see memory blockers as much, which kind of works against your deck, but there's not a lot of memory blockers. I think a big part of that is because we're seeing less Melga, and Melga was really using the hammer sparks, the memory boosts and all that stuff. So it relied a lot on its memory gain. And since there's less Melga, people are not playing that floodgate as much. So I think that kind of works in that. Now I think Melga still has a chance to come back into this, if people start getting back on it, feeling nostalgic.
100%.
Yeah, I think it's still very viable, but people are just kind of taking a step back because there's so much fun stuff to play this next set, and each set it had as we progress, we're finding new and fun stuff to play. That I think people are stepping back from everybody. I mean, obviously the Beelzemon is basically the new Melga. Everybody wants to play it, and it's probably going to see overrepresentation in some of these regionals. But I will say that there's so much fun stuff that's pretty viable. Like the new Raid War Greymon deck, Gallant's gotten support. Red Hybrid has a really big support. And obviously the Cross had some stuff in the set, and there's so much different fun stuff to play. Shine Greymon is one that shot up and is gonna get better in the next few sets. Yeah, that one is gonna end up being
Yeah,
the top one we get ruin mode.
I think the main thing is the fact that, Melga, Grandis, these decks were around for they overstayed their welcome. And I think that's the main thing. So even though, Beelzemon Hunters is, super strong, it's something new. It's fresh. Going to locals, every week for, 2, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, because, of how long those decks stayed in the format.
Right.
It just kind of got annoying. And now with all these new decks that you mentioned, it just feels fresh. It feels like a new fresh breath air of a format. And it's really fun. Still, it can still be, if you go to a tournament and half the players are Beelzemon players, well, yeah, it's going to be annoying. But, those decks aren't unbeatable. Tier 1 decks are never unbeatable, so there's nothing too much to complain about.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Completely agree. So, bringing up these BT12 regionals, we do have an in-person one here in Texas, or we're from Texas, obviously. So we're down here in the Valley. You and I are probably about an hour away from each other, but still we're locals.
Yes.
The Valley's very interconnected. But we do have a regionals here in Texas, in-person regionals. I know a couple of the guys here are planning on heading that way. I believe you are too.
Yeah, so I believe I'm the only person right now out of our local scene that has an invite. So I know everyone is pretty much wanting to go already. Like they already bought their tickets. They want their invite because House Store champions aren't gonna give that invite anymore. I feel like a lot of our friends are gonna go, so I'm really excited for that. It's probably gonna be like maybe from our locals combined and other cities close by. I want to say it's gonna be maybe at least like 30 people going.
Yeah, we have a pretty good
30
amount.
to 25, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though I have my invite already, just because it's an in-person regional, it's in my state, it's always an awesome time, traveling with friends, meeting these other players that I've met online, and just overall being in that setting, in that environment of an in-person tournament compared to an online tournament. I'm really excited to attend.
Yeah, and
I want to get that first place finish.
yeah, that's definitely one thing. And you bring up that you already have your invite, and that's important thing. Yes, store tournaments aren't giving out invites, but these regionals, to my understanding, if you already have your invite, it gets passed down to the next place. So there's still going to be like 32 people from every regional, even if a handful of the top 32 already have theirs. Well, then it gets extended to the next handful to make sure that it's still 32 from every regionals. So even if you have the same group of people topping, we're still going to keep increasing. We're not going to lose invites the way store championship
is
the same person won. Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing, is that you don't have to feel like you're blocking an invite for anybody else just by competing. You're not taking a spot away from anybody. All you're doing is competing for your prizing, essentially. Prizing and bragging rights.
Yeah, exactly. I just have this mentality of always wanting to do better than I did previously. So I'm aiming for a top 8 spot. Always trying to get that first or second spot for the prizing. And I'm always a arm's reach away. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm confident that I can get at least a top 8 spot, which I wouldn't be sad or mad or anything like that.
Yeah, and that we're hoping you make that. We're hoping a couple of our guys make it up there and do very very well.
I'm hoping our guys, all our friends, get an invite. Forget about me talking. I hope you guys, get an invite, because that'd be dope. I have a feeling. Somebody will. I know for a fact.
Yeah, I know. I believe Ivan and James and Marco and all of them have already gotten their tickets. I don't think I'm gonna make it to the in person because.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make it up there. I have some stuff,
Some stuff
but
to do.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'll personally make there, but I'm still going to try to get in online regionals. I think I've signed up for one or two already that I'm now I won't be in this weekend's one, but I have some over the summer that I'm planning on. So we'll see where I do there. I personally
Yeah,
haven't played as
we
much.
have all year. We have
Yeah,
all year to get those invites.
yeah, we got plenty of time. There's no rush there.
Hmm.
But so before we wrap up for tonight, any last thoughts you want to bring into the conversation?
I just want to say, with the in-person regional coming up in Texas, if anyone goes and sees me, just come say what's up. And other than that, I hope any of our local scenes or anyone who's watching who does go or any of these regionals coming up, I hope you guys get your invite. And I want to appreciate you for having me on here and presenting my deck,
Of course.
and it means a lot. Shout out, everyone in the valley, all the locals, all the homies who help me practice, who help me play, so I can compete, so we can compete. I think our community is dope, and shout out my team Never Spark, and shout out Valley Boys YouTube, and yeah, thanks for everyone who tunes in and watches.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming to talk with us, and giving your experience, your perspective on things. Glad to have you on. I'm sure we'll run it. We'll cross paths again. We'll probably have you come back in future time. We'll have another conversation. We'll keep it rolling. But again, thank you for coming on with us. Thank you for chatting, sharing your insights and how it went. And good luck on the in person. And like you said, good luck to all of our local players, all of our 956 representatives. Everybody from the valley who's
Yes,
making
sir.
up there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we want to see how many we get into our next year's nationals. But again, Adrian, Team Never Spark, thank you for joining us, and everybody watching, thank you for watching this episode. Hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave some comments, let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.